Hi there, it's Nick Shell again, and I'm calling myself the free life coach. I'm no professional. I don't have a degree in psychology. I'm just a guy that I think that I've got some valuable information that can help other people based on my life experience and my emotional intelligence. So again, no expert. But what I want to talk about today in my free life coach session is how we tend to give power to limitations over our lives. Now, there are certain things you can't control. Those limitations control you no matter what. But there's a lot of limitations in our life that we actually have control over. And the thing is, we give that control to those things. We allow that to happen. And I think the best example I can give is this. A few months ago, I did a video on my YouTube channel challenging the free world to try to insult me. But I told them up front in the video, I said, no matter what you say, I can already guarantee you will be unsuccessful in insulting me. And here's why. Because my definition of an insult has to do with you becoming affected by that insult. But see, if I don't allow anyone to insult me, they can't. So they could say, hey Nick, I noticed you got some gray in your beard, you're getting old, or oh, you're kind of a short guy, you're not that tall. Or they can say whatever they want to, whether it's intended to be offensive or not. And probably half the time it's not anyway. And I'm not saying that that offends. I own this, by the way. I'm 35. I'm amazed I don't have more. But those can only be offensive if I allow those to offend me. If I give power over my emotions to other people, then they can control my emotions, right? Well, I mentioned emotional intelligence a minute ago. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's about me realizing that I can only be offended if I allow those words by those other people, whoever they may be, intentional or not, to offend me. But see, now I'm to the point now where truly no one can offend me. It's a fact. And my life is so much easier now that I give no one permission to offend me. Now, granted, like my last video I made, I have more proactively nixed negative people from my life. Not by saying, get out of my life, but just kind of going the other way, because I'm focused on being victorious, choosing to be victorious instead of allowing myself to be a victim. And that's the thing with being offended by other people. When you allow yourself to be offended or insulted, you give power away to someone else over you. No one has power over my emotions but me. Now that's not true for a lot of people. And I had to get there myself. I wasn't that way most of my life. And up until this past year, it took me 35 years. Yeah, 35 years to get to that point. So imagine that. Imagine how much control over my life, for most of my life, I was giving away. And then I finally said, no more. I'm just not going to let them offend me. I'm not going to let my emotions be changed by anything anyone says. Because you can imagine that on a level of extremes, that there's certain people that are offended by everything, right? Well, that means that the average person isn't offended by most things that those really sensitive people are offended by. Well, you're in control. Actually, I was just listening to a Coldplay album where the opening line of the opening song is, you're in control, is there anywhere you want to go? And it's like that. You're in control of this. But by default, I think a lot of us give the control to someone else. So, going back to the whole concept of this video today, which is how we give power to limitations of our lives. I mean, that's the easiest example, because this whole, I feel for me, I think most of my life I felt entitled to be offended in certain regards, not about most things, but to certain things. And now I'm unoffendable. I mean, I've already invited the whole world to try to insult me, and no one's been able to. And then it becomes more challenging when you look at the people close to you in your life, because often they are the easiest to offend you or to hurt you, because they love you more, and there's that whole connection between the people who you love are the easiest they can hurt you, and often accidentally. So that was a whole other thing for me when I realized not even the people close to me, there's no need to allow them to offend me. It's helped me out in my marriage tremendously. So I think this is a good starting point, and I probably should make more videos about this concept. But see, that's the easiest place to start, in my opinion, is not allowing people to offend you by not giving that power over your emotions. You taking control over your emotions and saying, I remember growing up, my mom would say, Nick, I'd be a kid and someone would say something mean to me and she'd say, Nick, consider the source, Nick. And it would, you know, it goes back to that concept of typically people who are going to be offensive to you. People treat other people the way they feel about themselves. If you truly love yourself and you have inner peace, you're not going to go around being negative and sarcastic and putting people down or undermining people. You're not going to do that if you have inner peace. Okay? I don't think anyone would disagree with the fact that I have inner peace. And therefore I have confidence, right? So I don't go around putting people down or even finding like backhanded compliments. No, I don't. That's pointless for me. I have too much peace in my life for that. Instead, what do? I find ways to compliment people anywhere I go. And in my other video, I talked about how choosing to be victorious, that's part of the wiring of it. You have to be able to be ready to compliment people all the time, authentically, instead of finding a way to criticize a person. So this is a good starting point. I think we need to talk a lot more about this in these next videos, but just make that your homework assignment. If you find yourself being offended or hurt, think, but am I giving that person power over my life? Because I talked about in the other video too about the negative people in your life or about forgiving people, that if we don't forgive other people, we're taking poison and expecting the other person to get sick, right? I'm not going to feed myself poison. And I can't hold grudges. That's part of being a victim. Victims hold grudges. People who are victorious forgive. And it's not always easy. And usually it's not. And that's the whole point. Like I had said in another video too, forgiveness can't be earned. That's a fact. That's exactly why it's forgiveness, because it's not earned. It's grace, right? So it's a matter of living our lives, not holding grudges, instead forgiving. Also not allowing people to offend us to begin with, because we have so much confidence in ourselves and so much that we're not giving that authority and power over our lives to someone else. We're taking control because we're already in the driver's seat, but instead we're letting the other person drive by controlling our emotions. Not me, not anymore, not in the last year of my life. And I've never felt freer or more confident or in control of my own life. So let's start there. We're going to do more videos on this. I think this is a good place to talk about. So remember, what we're talking about today is we don't want to let limitations, we don't want to give power to those limitations of our lives. It's funny because we think that it's other people controlling us, when so many times it's us giving power to that. So remember, being offended, is that something you can control? Can you allow yourself not to be offended? There's a scale. You have to admit it. We all know people who wear their heart on the sleeve and are offended by anything. And you're a lot more than likely not that person today. But then there's other people who just seem to not be affected by much emotionally and not get hurt. Well, I finally become that person and I'm so happy. And I want you to get here too, because life is great over here. I worry less. I've got less anxiety. Life's good. I'm in control. My name is Nick Shell, and I am your free life coach.